Around this time, Hecayehu became ill to the point of death. Yeshayahu, the prophet, the son of Amat, came and said to him, "Here is what Adonai says. Put your house in order, because you are going to die. You will not live." Hezekiah turned his face toward the wall and prayed to Adonai, "I plead with you, Adonai, remember now how I lived before you truly and wholeheartedly, and how I have done what you see as good." And he cried bitter tears. Before Yeshayahu had left the city's middle courtyard, the word of Adonai came to him. "Go back and tell Hezekiah, the prince of my people, that this is what Adonai, the God of David, your ancestor, says. I have heard your prayer and seen your tears, and I will heal you. On the third day you are to go up to the house of Adonai. I will add 15 years to your life. Also, I will rescue you and this city from the power of the king of Ashur. I will defend this city for my own sake and for my servant David's sake." Then Yeshayahu said, "Prepare a fig plaster." They brought it and laid it on the inflammation so that he would recover. Hezekiah said to Yeshayahu, "What sign will there be that Adonai will heal me, and that I will be able to go up to the house of Adonai on the third day?" Yeshayahu said, "Here is the sign for you from Adonai that Adonai will do what he said. Do you want the shadow of the sundial to go forward 10 intervals or backward 10 intervals?" Hezekiah answered, "It's easy for the shadow to go down 10 intervals. No, let the shadow return backward 10 intervals." Yeshayahu called out to Adonai, and he brought the shadow on the sundial of Echez 10 intervals backwards, after it had gone down that far. Brodach Baladan, the son of Baladan, king of Babel, heard that Hezekiah had been ill, so he sent a letter and a gift to him. Hezekiah listened to the messengers and showed them the building where he kept his treasures, including the silver, gold, spices, and precious oils, also the building where he kept his armor and everything in his treasury. There was nothing in the palace or in his entire domain that Hezekiah did not show them. Then Yeshayahu the prophet came to Hezekiah and asked him, "What did these men say? Where did they come from?" Hezekiah answered, "They came from a distant country, Bavel." Yeshayahu asked, "What have they seen in your palace?" "Have they seen everything in my palace?" said Hezekiah. "There isn't a thing among my treasures that I haven't shown them." Yeshayahu said to Hezekiah, "Hear what Adonai says. The day will come when everything in your palace, along with everything your ancestors stored up until today, will be carried off to Bavel. Nothing will be left, says Adonai. They will carry off some of your descendants, your own offspring, and they will be made eunuchs, serving in the place of the king of Bavel." Hezekiah said to Yeshayahu, "The word of Adonai, which you have just told me, is good." He thought, "Isn't it, though? In peace, truth, continue at least through my lifetime?" Other activities of Hezekiah, his power, and how he built the pool and aqueduct to bring water into the city are recorded in the annals of the kings of Yehuda. Then Hezekiah slept with his ancestors, and Manasseh his son took his place as king. Manasseh was 12 years old when he began his reign. He ruled for 15 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Hephzibah. He did what was evil from Adonai's perspective, following the disgusting practices of the nations whom Adonai had expelled ahead of the people of Israel. For he rebuilt the high places of Hezekiah his father had destroyed. He erected altars to Baal and made Asherah, as had Achav, king of Israel, and he worshipped all the army of heaven and served them. He erected altars in the house of Adonai, about which Adonai had said, "In Jerusalem I will put my name." He erected altars from all the army of heaven in the two courtyards of the house of Adonai. He made his son pass through fire as a sacrifice. He practiced soothsaying and divination and appointed mediums and persons who used spirit guides. He did much that was evil from Adonai's perspective, thus provoking him to anger. He set the carved image for the Asherah he had made in the house concerning which Adonai had told David and Shlomo his son, in the house of in Jerusalem, which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, I will put my name forever. Also, I will not have the feet of Israel wander any longer out of the land which I gave their ancestors, if only they would take heed to obey every order I have given them and live in accordance with all the Torah that my servant Moshe ordered them to obey. But they did not take heed, and Manasseh misled them into doing even worse things than the nations Adonai had destroyed ahead of the people of Israel. Adonai spoke this message through his servants and the prophets, because Manasseh, king of Yehuda, has done these disgusting things, because he has done these more wicked than anything that Omri, who were brought before him, did. Also, because with his idols he made Yehuda sin. Therefore, here is what Adonai, the God of Israel, says: I am going to bring such calamity on Jerusalem and Yehuda that the ears of all those who hear it will tingle. I will measure Jerusalem with the same measuring cord that I used over Shamron, the same plumb line as for the house of Achav. I will score Jerusalem clean, just as one scores a plate, scoring it and then turning it upside down. I will abandon the remnant of my heritage, delivering them into the power of their enemies. They will become prey and plunder for all their enemies, because they have done what was evil from my perspective, and have provoked me to anger from the day their ancestors came out of Egypt to this very day. Moreover, Manasseh shed so much innocent blood that he flooded Jerusalem from one end to the other. This, in addition to his sin through which he caused Yehuda to sin by doing what was evil from Adonai's perspective. Other activities of Manasseh, all his accomplishments, and the sin he committed are recorded in the annals of the kings of Yehuda. Then Manasseh slept with his ancestors and was buried in the garden of his own house in the garden of Uzzah. And Amon his son took his place as king. Amon was 22 years old when he began his reign. He ruled for 2 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Meshillemet, the daughter of Haratz from Yotova. He did what was evil from Adonai's perspective, as had Manasseh his father. He followed entirely in the manner of the life of his father, serving the idols that his father served and worshiping them. He abandoned Adonai, the God of his ancestors, and did not live in Adonai's way. Amon's servants conspired against him and put the king to death in his own palace. But the people of the land put to death all those who had been part of the conspiracy against King Amon. Then the people of the land made Yeshayahu, his son, king in his place over him. Other activities of Amon and all its accomplishments are recorded in the annals of the kings of Yehuda. Amon was buried in the tomb of Garden Uzzah, and Yeshayahu, his son, took his place as king. Yeshayahu was 8 years old when he began his reign, and he ruled for 31 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Yedidah, the daughter of Adaiah from Betzkat. He did what was right from Adonai's perspective, living entirely in the manner of David his ancestor, and turning away neither to the right nor to the left. In the 18th year of King Yeshayahu, the son of Shaphan, the son of Etzlehu, the son of Meshullam, the secretary, the house of Adonai, after instructing him, go up to Helikahu, the Kohen Haggadol, and have him total the money that has been brought into the house of Adonai, which the doorkeepers have collected from the people. Then have them give it to the supervisors, the work being done in the house of Adonai. They in turn are to use it to pay the laborers in the house of Adonai to repair damaged places in the building, the carpenters, construction workers, and stone masons, and to purchase timber and working stone for doing the repairs of the building. However, they did not require an accounting from the supervisors given the money to spend, because they dealt honestly. Hezekiah the Kohen Haggadol said to Shaphan the secretary, I have found the scroll of Torah of the house of Adonai. Hezekiah gave the scroll to Shaphan, who read it. Then Shaphan the secretary went back to the king and gave it to the king this report. Your servant had poured out the money and found in the house and handed it over to the people supervising the work in the house of Adonai. Shaphan the secretary also told the king, Hezekiah the Kohen Haggadol gave me a scroll. Then Shaphan read it out loud before the king. After the king had heard what was written in the scroll of the Torah, he tore his clothes. Then the king issued this order to Hezekiah the Kohen. Achikam, son of Shaphan, Achbor, the son of Melchiah, Shaphan the secretary, and Asaiah, the king's servant, go and consult Adonai for me, for the people, and for all Yehudah, in regard to what is written in the scroll which has been found. For Adonai must be furious at us, since their ancestors did not listen to the words written in this scroll and didn't do everything written there that concerns us. So Hezekiah the Kohen, Achikam, Achbor, Shaphan, and Asaiah went to Huldah the prophet, the wife of the Shullam, the son of Tikvah, and the son of Harkas, keepers of the wardrobe. She lived in the second quarter of Jerusalem and spoke with her. She told them, Adonai the God of Israel says to tell the men who sent you to me that Adonai says this, I am going to bring calamity on this place and on its inhabitants. Every word in the scroll the king of Yehudah has read, because they have abandoned me and offered to other gods in order to provoke me with everything they do. Therefore my anger will burn against them this place and will not be quenched. But you are to tell the king of Yehudah who sent you to consult Adonai that Adonai the God of Israel also says this, in regard to the words you have heard, because your heart was tender, and you humbled yourself before Adonai when you heard what I said against this place and its inhabitants, that they would become an object of astonishment and cursing, and have torn your clothes and cried before me. I have also heard you, says Adonai. Therefore I will gather you to your ancestors, and you will go to your grave in peace. Your eyes will not see the calamity I am going to bring on this place. So they brought back word to the king.